So I just want to come on and just give a brief update on Bitcoin, right? And obviously in Bitcoin, it's basically, the heartline of the market. So whatever we can anticipate out of Bitcoin, we can expect that the altcoins and everything else will pretty much follow, right? So I'm not going to waste any time. Let's just jump right on into it. And obviously, we have still been so range bound for the last several months, right? Ever since the new all-time high back here in March, and essentially this range that we've been in, I refer to it as the high time frame range. Ever since February, right? We've been, in and out of this pretty consistently. Had a really nice drop back here on August 5th. I just did an update a few weeks back explaining why I believe that would have been the bottom, and that was obviously before we got this new higher low at the moment. But that for many reasons, right? Just based on a little bit of timing on things that I'm looking at, as well as this was the overall back test of the macro 382, right? If you were to pull a fib retracement from the $15,000 low to the overall high, we bounce right off of the 382, which is generally the shallowest retracement area. You get in a very strong uptrend. All right, I've covered that multiple times where this was a 382 back test. We continued. This was a 382 back test. We continued. This was a 382 back test. We continued. And now overall, this was a 382 back test. And I guess the question is, well, we continue, right? So a couple of things that we've been looking for in the interim, as always, trying to identify key pivots in the market, right, to try to give us a little bit of an edge. I am one person that was honestly targeting about $43,000. However, I targeted that when we were trading all the way back at the all-time highs. When I noted this little swing move, right, and we had a couple of things going on at the time, which we refer to this as the all-time high shark, right? So back here, identified this potential bearish, reversal pattern, essentially, which did complete at 72,000, in some change. I was targeting 71,400. Entered a short, had a few major targets along the way, hit them all, over a few weeks, right? It took a good amount of time to really unravel that move. What did we get after that? Once again, simple range rotation, right? And from there, we got the dump, right, that I was looking for with potential around August 6th through the 8th. And a lot of that was due to the BAT pattern, the reversal pattern on Ethereum, right? So I was targeting a 50% correction in Ethereum from the $4,000 high, right? So back when we were trading in this region here, once again, back at the high of the year or the March timeframe, came back and back tested this region with a lower high. And overall, I targeted back down to the B point, right? So when we were trading into this area, you're looking at a 48 to 50% pullback. Timing for that was around August 6th to the 8th that I was looking for. We came down and we made this low on the 5th. This pattern was effectively complete, okay? And with that being said, at the time, I was looking for Bitcoin to potentially follow suit, right? If we're going to get a 50% pullback in Ethereum, a lot of times Bitcoin and Ethereum are similar in pullbacks. I did have a pretty decent potential setup down at 43K, which was a high time frame range, volume target, all kinds of things, right? All kind of aligned with that region, and it would have been about a 40% pullback from the overall high. So to see ETH pull back 50% wouldn't have been uncommon to see Bitcoin pull back 40, right? But this is what's so great about being able to kind of identify things between the overall market, right? So instead of just blindly waiting for Bitcoin to come lower, I, decided to take a look at things from a different perspective and see, where I could have been wrong. Timing, everything kind of lined up correctly. Ethereum already came down and hit the targets. Could this be an area where Bitcoin just reverses from? That's when I looked at the macro 382, things like that. Now we had this new push up, right? We went back into the overall range, right? Which is this right here. And I'm actually going to cut this and we'll go back in time a little bit, right? So we had that low come down. We pushed back up into the range. This was back in August 23rd, came back down, potential little back test here. But what did we do? We actually lost the range, right? So at that point, you have to, this is a simple idea to me that, as long as we're within this region, you can look for the range rotation like we did here, like we did here, like we did here, right? You get back in the range, we run it. You get back in the range, you run it. But we came back out and we dropped out. So for me, once again, now at this point, everybody got very fearful. You had, news coming out and everything. And even myself, I had to be prepared for 43K. There was a very realistic target and very technical reasoning to why we could see that. Not anything really to do with the yearly open. I know that that's kind of something that some will look to and maybe have put some statistics around it. And I was looking to it for a couple of different reasons. However, what did I start to look for at this point as well, especially when everyone got very fearful. Before I touch on that, I just want to give a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video, longtime partner with the channel and myself, and that is I Trust Capital. If you are looking to buy and sell crypto, gold, silver, anything with your IRA, be sure to check them out. They're one of the most trusted companies out here in crypto, which is a hard thing to come by at this point. They have tons of payers, all types of different services that they provide and offer. A really unique style for investing, aside from just getting onto certain exchanges and with all the issues we have there. So I Trust Capital, give them a check. Really great company and a great partner. So thank you again to I Trust, and let's jump right back to the video. So what was I looking for, right? So inside the Leading Crypto Discord server, I post nonstop 24/7 analysis, updates, ideas, you name it, right? With very clear idea sets that I'm looking for myself, trades I'm taking. It's not necessarily just every single option, and then when one hits, it's like, oh, you got this right? So these are things that I put, my money behind a lot of times, right? And just the ideas that I'm looking for heavily, so that when times do get really scary or even really exciting, it keeps myself level-headed, at least, and potentially members in the group as well. But this is what I was looking for on the 3rd of September, right? And once again, I don't know that this is going to happen. I have to come at this, as far as, anything else is concerned, as cautious as possible. We still know that there's potential to go lower. There always is risk, but this is what I was looking at to come down to, right? So we were trading at the time, right at 57,058 before we came lower, right? So, I was looking for this potential butterfly, right? So just like we had, like I had identified the potential shark pattern back to $72,000, basically, I identified that back at this swing low, right? So this is what we were looking for back here. And that kept me very grounded on the way back up. Once again, I had Ethereum to kind of back that up a little bit too on a couple of things. But I was looking for this, especially when it's like, trying to kind of sift through all the noise, right? So for me, I don't pay attention to any kind of news. It doesn't matter. It doesn't interfere with my analysis, my trading, my investing, nothing, right? You had FOMC meetings this week, didn't even pay attention to it. Couldn't tell you that it was even this week, what day it was, what time it was. Didn't affect me one bit, right? Because I already had the trading strategy and the plan in place. And here we are, right? So when I was looking for this potential pattern, right, we had been at this swing region here. Once again, didn't know it was going to happen. I was just able to, depict that certain edge in the market and take the risk when it came about. And it did play out, right? So for now, what do we have? Well, like I said, looking at this potential pattern, we were trading at $58,000. And I was looking to come down into about 50, basically anywhere from 50 to 54K, right? So we had an untapped daily level down here at 54, as you can see here, looking for a potential little sweep of that, and then a reclaim of that region for 2 reasons. One of it being the daily level at the time, this being our developing range value area low, right? So now in a bit of a shorter time frame, right, you got the overall range here, but we can break this down a little bit more in far as the time frame that we're in right here. And this was the range low that we came into right here, right at about 54K. So we got a little bit of a dip below, which for that harmonic pattern, like I said, could have went as low as 50K even. Still a higher low than the wick low here, but overall I wanted to see this $54,000 reclaim. So as soon as we did that, we started looking for this butterfly pattern, right? So once again, mind you, this came on a Friday. Everybody's super fearful over the weekend. I'm sure I don't even know what the news was at the time, if there even was any. I think this was actually a time when everybody was scouring the internet looking for what is going on with Bitcoin. Why did it just drop? There was no reason, right? Technicals. So now on the 6th of September, we had that wick down. We tagged 52,600 and some change, and that was a Friday evening. Now, if you're unaware, I basically sold 75% of my Ethereum allocation back in March, not even at the $4,000 high, but around $3,300, and I was looking for that pullback towards about 2K, right? So we came down to $2,100, and we got that twice. And on the 6th, after that drop, I'd been waiting and waiting and waiting. I scaled a little bit back in here and there, but I'd been truly waiting for lower, right? So this date here is when I actually decided to pretty much load back up into my ETH allocation. Obviously, I still have a little bit of dry powder left on the side, as you always should, for potential lower. But for me, to be able to capitalize on selling out at a higher level, buying back in at almost a 40% pullback, I was okay with that. And if it goes a little underwater at this point, then it is what it is. And I'm prepared for the potential next major leg up towards about $7,000 to $8,000 on Ethereum over time. Also, once again, making it super clear in my community, no like, oh, this is what, could happen, would happen. And once again, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to at least, put out there what I'm doing, myself, as far as taking risk and when. And, when we were trading at $70,000 Bitcoin, every single, even public post I put out, I was saying I can't go all in at these levels, with altcoins, what have you, just because we were so high, right? Like it's just a time where it really did have to come down to some pullback area and looking for the retracement and some key levels for me at least to get in. This date, once again, the next morning on Saturday, the 7th of September, right after the drop to 52K, I posted in here, happy Saturday, letting everybody know I did a lot of buying yesterday. Very few times have I ever went this hard. Still a risk of more drop. There always is more risk. Obviously, like once again, we don't know what's going to happen in the market, but there are times when you have to be able to put on risk. The last 2 times I loaded up this hard on mid to long-term plays on altcoins was back when Ethereum was $1,100 in December of 2022. And as well as last year, this time, basically, when Ethereum was at $1,500 in September of 2023. We obviously all know what happened January of 2023 after this, drop here. That was basically the beginning of the bull run. And then last year, after $1,500, around $1,500 ETH in September, we obviously had the end of the 2023 Q4 rally into the March highs of this year, right? So once again, I don't know if the market is going to have this huge, move up, but once I was able to identify this area as a potential key region for myself to put on some risk, we'll see how it plays out, right? All of that just to essentially show that when people are overly fearful, that is really when you want to look and see and understand if it's a time to be greedy, right? And very similar to when everybody's super greedy, there's potential times when you want to be fearful, right? So we've been trending sideways now for a very long time. And what is the potential here? Well, for me, it's the potential harmonic that takes us actually to all-time highs, which we've been, really nicely positioned since this low of last week. I had multiple shorts in from the highs here on Ethereum and Bitcoin. And aside from that, I was sitting in cash, right? So I picked up a ton of altcoins on the 6th and 7th of September for a potential little, rally here, Bitcoin, Ethereum as well. And so far, this has been the result of this potential pattern, right? And I keep having to hammer in the key word at this point is potential. You can't really trade this idea, because it's not complete. That's like pretty much trying to trade off of a bull flag before it breaks out, if you trade that way, or a head and shoulders before it breaks, right? This is just a potential piece of confluence. The more, the reasoning that I looked at this level more than anything was because of the, the range low that I pointed out, right? That value area low back at 54K with the reclaim. And then now I'm looking to take this back up to these areas here, right? We got back into the overall range now, right? With a nice little back test right here. Also had a really good setup this week in the trading group where we're looking for the back test of 59,375. What did this come down to? 59,278. So $75 off. And then we were looking for the run. We had a daily naked point of control right here at 64K. And then overall, just in general, right? Looking for that next move up to rotate this range basically to the high. Looking for 64K to get flipped at the moment. And then 67 is the next major area for me. Point of control of this entire range, a monthly naked point of control from a few months back. And overall looking to run it at least back up to that 71,400 untapped quarterly level. But realistically, I am targeting new all-time highs. And that could come as soon as next week, honestly. And I'm not trying to put a big time frame around it or anything like that. I'm just putting out the reasoning why if we wake up next week and you see an all-time high on Bitcoin or something, right? It's just a time when you don't want to be panic and you don't want to be frantic, right? There is a very technical pattern that's pretty much developing here, right? So it does take us into $75,000 to $78,000 Bitcoin. And another thing to note here is that if you remember from my last major update that I put out, I pointed out the golden pockets in time from all previous rallies, right? That kind of linked up here. You can take Fibonacci time and utilize it just as you would as Fibonacci price retracements and expansions, and look for pivots in the market, right? So, so far, every iteration that we have had, in the past, 2016, the gold pocket in time, you can see here that we traded pretty much sideways, and then we got a nice little break that took us to the all-time high. It wasn't a straight line. Obviously, we had multiple pullbacks along the way. So once again, pointing out not to just FOMO into this market or be frantic, and you have to strategize and have a plan to some degree. We saw the same thing once again in 2020, right? So this is kind of where I think everybody thought we were going to end up when we broke the all-time high earlier this year, because Bitcoin, broke 20K and then just went for a straight run. However, we did this back in 2020 after the gold pocket in time, right? We had a nice little run up. We broke out of that time frame, and then you broke the all-time high, and you had this huge run all the way up to the all-time high. So we came up a little quicker this time around. We, made new all-time high here, and then you can see we've just trended sideways. And now our gold pocket in time that has so far in the past led to the last leg up in the market, right? Is right now. Okay. It started on August 12th and basically ends around the, this coming up week. I won't even give an exact date, but it comes to, conclusion this week. So for me, I think that there's a likelihood that we can complete that potential butterfly pattern, right? That harmonic, and it could very well be anytime is starting this week, right? So stay tuned for more updates if you enjoy content like this. As always, I'll be giving updates in the Discord if you'd like to join that and be just flooded with updates, altcoin setups. I do a ton of altcoin analysis, right? I'm covering Bitcoin pretty heavily right now, but altcoins are obviously my forte as well. So I do updates there. We even take a look at the stock market basically every day also. And I'm doing a 14-day free trial right now. So check it out. Links down in the description there. If you don't like it by the time your trial is up, obviously cancel before you are charged. Do daily market updates. Like I said, there's an included CVO Trading Academy. So it goes over all the tools, resources that I use daily, the Discord community where you can chat, post your own charts, things like that. And it's a super simple Discord. It's literally only these few channels right here. 3 of them are updates just for me, so post only. The other 3, you're free to post your own stuff if you'd like, put anything in the chat room, your own charts. I answer a lot of questions in here, but very simple. It's not like 100 channels that you got to sift through and super confusing and overwhelming. And then as always, once again, thank you to our sponsor, I Trust Capital. Be sure to check them out, link in the description below. And I hope you all have a fantastic remainder of your weekend wherever you are, and I'll see you all in the next video. And until then, everybody, cheers.